everybody, how's it going? It is October 17th, 2023. My name is Melissa, and this is my channel, Geeky Witch, about all things cross-stitch in my life. It's been a hot minute, again, since I've done a video. Life has been pretty funky since July, and yeah. And I've been trying to get onto a video and keep not having either the time or not being in the right mindset. So I am doing this at 10:45 at night. That's hence why it's so dark in this room, to get something recorded, because if I don't do it now, I'm going to make excuses again, and then all of a sudden it's going to be like next year. It feels like it's going to be next year. So, yeah. So today's video, I'm going to catch up on some highlights of finishes, a couple of projects that I have done a good amount of work on. Not everything I've stitched, because I've worked on a lot of stuff since July, between WhipGo and a couple of the semi-sane stitcher games and Frogwarts back in July, which seems like an age and a half ago at this point. Yeah, so I've worked on a lot, I've made progress on a lot, but as always happens, you make a lot more progress on some things than you do on other things. So just gonna stick to the highlights right now. I'll probably do like an end of the year recap on other stuff when we get there. But so for the quick rundown of life since the end of June, when I did my 3-part whip parade. 4th of July weekend, I caught COVID for the first time since COVID came out. Thankfully, it was a mild case. However, I have had a very stubborn cough ever since. And some days it's better than others. And now I've got, autumn allergies that are adding to it, which is such a joy. But yeah, I developed a little bit of a long COVID thing, and I am someone who is fully vaxxed. Oh, that's Luke, by the way, that's right there. I don't think there's another cat floating around at the moment. Anyway, yeah, so that's Luke. So COVID happened. Then I had Frogwarts, which was a blast, except for I was hacking and coughing and barely had a voice. So a lot of my participation was kind of just watching and taking pictures and not being like active in chat rooms, which kind of made me sad, but no one wanted to hear me hacking and coughing at that point. After that, we had a wonderful family vacation in Hilton Head Island, South Carolina. It was our first family vacation in about 5 or 6 years, where all 3 of us could go for the entire time. Met up with my mom and her partner and my brother for a week at the beach. And other than it being absolutely hot as hell, we're talking like heat indexes around 117, it was wonderful, and it was great to see everybody. We finally were able to give my dad his send-off that he had requested of my brother, because this was the first time we'd been able to get together. My dad passed away in 2016, and he had told my brother that he wanted his ashes spread off of Hilton Head. So we made it happen, finally. And it was very relaxing and peaceful, and honestly not at all sad. But 7 years, took a little while. So that was good. Then my son started his new year in school. He's in his last year of elementary school. I can't believe it. And then things went a little haywire. My husband's father took a bad... He'd been ill for a little while, but he took a very bad turn, and he passed away in mid-September. The funeral was last week. He was cremated, and then he had a military burial last Thursday. And then immediately after that, I went to Stitch New England for the weekend and got to kind of decompress, and I had a wonderful time. It was a fantastic con retreat. I use the two interchangeably, but fantastic retreat. Pam and her husband Kevin and the entire group of volunteers on their committee did an absolutely fantastic job. You would never have known this was a first year retreat at all. Just, it went, I'm sure there were bumps behind the scenes, but they did a fantastic job. So if you have a chance to go to Stitch New England, go. I know that they are planning to hold it again next October, and details I'm sure they'll put up on their website when they're ready to do so. So, and now, in 2 weeks, I've got the next retreat, which is Stitching at the Farm up in Troy, New Hampshire. I am now on year 3 of going to this retreat. It's fabulous. Honestly, I think it has become the highlight of my year. And with how things are kind of unfolding, I think it's like this second half of October to the beginning of November is going to be like me time every year. That is when I'm going to be doing my stitching retreats and just going to town and having mom time. And that's okay with me, because autumn is my favorite time of year. And to be able to get away during the autumn and re-energize is what I live for. So that's life right now. Things are fine. Things honestly are fine. Aside from, saying goodbye to Art, Eric's dad, which is sad, but I also see it as a blessing with what was happening towards the end. So, and my husband is doing okay, and I think Max is doing okay. He's not talking a whole lot, but he seems to be doing okay. So we will just kind of keep going on like we always do, because you can't celebrate the good things of life without recognizing and going through the bad either. So, all right. So we'll talk about some stitching, and then talk about what I put in my retreat bag. If you haven't been to a retreat, this is my first plug of saying, jump in the pool. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be intimidated by it. Jump in the pool. We were all newbies at retreats once. You will have a blast. Just go in there, aim to be relaxed, let a couple people know that you're new. Trust me, someone's going to take your hand, bring you over to a table, or just, invite you into a 1-person, 2-person, 3-person little group to get you into it. And by the end of it, you'll be like, why was I worried about this? Jump in with both feet. You will have a ball. Okay. So first, let's do some finishes. And then we will do my 3 highlights that I'm working on right now, and then the stitching bag. Okay, so first up, finish that was a kind of off and on. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with the project, and now have decided what I'm doing with the project. Here is You Were Hatched by Teresa Wensler. It is completely finished on the front. And as you can see, I am backstitching a line to create 2 identical squares to finish it as an ornament. Now, I am planning on creating a... come on, refocus. Thank you. I am planning on doing this as a biscornu. My preference for Teresa Wensler ornaments is as a biscornu if they are square. I just think it adds... I like the 3-dimension of it, and it just kind of fits the fancy stitching a little bit. So, trying to balance this so you can see this. I might just do it this way, even though it's up the wrong side. So, the way you do this is I'm going to do this square is done. There'll be an identical backstitch square here. Then the corner is going to match up with the dead middle of this here. I know I'm not pointing to it correctly right now, but bear with me. And then all you do is you whip stitch, and that will form the funky 8-sided biscornu. Now, a traditional biscornu usually has a button or something sewing down the center to make it like a little poofed, tufted pillow. In the case of this, I will leave it puffed out. So it will actually like have the 3-dimensional depth all the way around. This back side, I will probably just put, you know, Max's First Christmas 2013, because it was supposed to be his first Christmas ornament. He's 10. But at least I got it done before he was out of high school. But I'm not going to put a whole ton on the back here because the front has more than enough stitching on it. More than enough. There are a lot of colors in this little square. But this is my first one, and this will be fully finished for the tree this winter. Okay, next up is a very long time whip. I finished this the beginning of July, I believe. I didn't bring out my binder like I normally do. I just wanted to sit down and actually film tonight. So this is Witchy Wash by Raise the Roof. I started this back in 2010, 2011. And then I had a horrible accident with it in 2013 and spilled an iced coffee on it, which made the threads run around the basket down there on the ground. So there, you can't see it now because after it sat in timeout for 10 years, and I pulled it back out and went, I can do this. Let's just finish it. Had the brilliant idea of, I don't need to start over. There's already buttons that are all over this thing. Just pick a couple more buttons and put them in the laundry basket and hide it. So that white cat is hiding the worst of the dye run damage. The rest of them are all the ones that are called for. And I stitched this on an old silk weaver called Manhattan Mist that came out somewhere around 2005. If they still have it, I'd be shocked. This was with the original silk weaver dyer. It's in the called for threads, and I am super happy with how this came out. And you know what? I'm not even mad about a little bit of the bleeding dye, because it is a piece, after all, about doing the laundry, and we all have that one piece of white that has turned pink somewhere along the line, and in this case it turned a little bit orange and a little bit purple. Very, very fitting for Halloween wash. So yay! Long time legacy project done. Thank goodness. Okay, so next up in my finishes, this summer, the Tudor Rose Sampler Guild that I belong to had a stitch along on it was a 2-piece series, and you could choose between the 2 pieces of Quaker Hornbooks by Ellen Chester. And one of them was to be done 1/1 on 32 count fabric, and the other one was over 2 on 36. So they came out roughly about the same size when you were done. Even though I liked the 1/1 pattern a little bit better, I knew I would not be able to keep up with the stitch along if I did that one. So I opted to do the one that was over 2 for right now, and then I will probably go back and do the other sampler, but do it over 2 and maybe find a bigger hornbook for it. So to kind of twin the pieces. So this is my completed hornbook piece. I just need to do the final finishing for it. But as you can see, it's tiny. This is done on one of the ornament solos that Fortnite Fabrics released last year as their one of their monthly fabric groups. So it doesn't have a name, but it is, you can't see it really, really well, but it's kind of a light gray with just a little bit of a purple tinge to the fabric, in 36 count linen. And then the floss is blueberry from Romy's Creations in Italy. And I'm super happy with how this turned out. So I just need to get it put onto the little Hornbook, and then this one will be a final finish. I have it still here on this frame, so that I can do, a back stitch line around for finishing. But that's that. And you can see, yes, it's tiny. It's like, well, here's a good example. So here's a Uniball Signo pen, your average pen. Yeah, it's bigger than well, here we go. It's bigger than the piece. So that gives you an idea. It's little. So really happy to get that done. And Tudor Rose is going to be doing a sampler stitch along next year on a reproduction sampler, starting sometime in probably the first quarter of the year-ish. If you're interested, just go to the Guild website, TudorRoseSamplerGuild.com. I'll put a link below. You are welcome to come and just listen as a guest to one of our meetings. Registration for the new year will start in January. And I would say just hold off until the new year if you want to become a member, so you get the whole year. But I really do recommend it. If you like anything to do with samplers, with embroidery techniques, being introduced to new designers, just meeting another group of stitchers. The meetings are held by Zoom. They are local to the Metroplex in Texas in person, but I obviously am not in Texas. And they have quite a few members who aren't. So join up. The more the merrier. And it's a really nice group of folks, and everyone loves stitching. And we celebrate everybody's stitching every month with the show and tell of what people have finished and whatnot. So really good group. That's my pitch. Okay. Okay, so my final finish so far for the year, this was in the Christmas box from Black Needle Society, I want to say in 2021. And this is Winter Welcome by Park Hopper Bart. The white I know is probably really hard to see on my screen, and I'm sorry, that's just the coloring. But, oh, there we go. If I do it like this, you can see it a little bit better. It does look not quite as washed out in person, but it is a very delicate look to it. It is stitched on a beautiful piece of fabric from, I believe it was Forbidden Fibers, called Winterberry. And the white on this thing, I have nicknamed the Demon's Floss, because Etoile and I will never be friends. That stuff just, I cannot get my stitches to look super clean, but it works for this. The white, all of the white and the hat are all in the Etoile. So in person, it's super sparkly. Now, if I bring it in, you can kind of see it better. So I haven't decided how I'm finishing this yet. I'm thinking I probably will frame it, but not sure yet. It's probably not going to be done fully finished by the end of the year. I may be kind of sitting and waiting on this one for just a little bit, but yay, got that one done. And that I got done in August. So not bad for the year. That's a good record for me. Genuinely, truly a good record for me. So as I mentioned, I've worked on a bunch of stuff since July between different challenges and games and WhipGo and whatnot. And most of it's just been like, a couple hundred stitches here and there. Nothing that you can really see a ton of progress on. So I'm not going to show those right now since I just did that big whip parade. You'll see them again later on when they get further along. But I am going to show two pieces that are really coming along and are in good shape to be finished by the end of the year. The first is my temperature tree. There we go. Colors are for 2021 because that's what it was intended for. And I'm doing a custom colorway. I used what was charted by Stitching Mommy to build my palette, but I really just pulled colors from Stash. And I also did a little bit of a custom range because New England can both get up to 100 degrees and can go well below zero. So I needed a slightly wider range than what was suggested. And plus, I like all the color. So my colors are in roughly 3-degree increments in Fahrenheit. I'm not going to convert those to Celsius right now, but I think if you go onto my blog, onto misi.net, when this came up in WhipGo, I actually did put in my entire colorway, and I converted it to Celsius so you can see what colors were used for which range. But so each one of these branches is a month. I've finished everything through March, and now I'm plugging away in April, May, and June. The way I get my colors is through Weather Underground. You can get them a historical list of the high degrees for those dates, for whatever date range you choose. And I've just been writing them down on a piece of paper and then going through and going by range increment and then kind of just touching all the leaves that, are in that colorway to kind of make it go a little bit faster. And then my initials will go here at the bottom. I probably will put, a Providence, Rhode Island 2021 or something down here at the bottom when I'm done. But this is almost certain to be done by the end of the year. And I'm super happy. So, yay! Okay, and the other one that I've made a lot of progress on, and I'm actually working on at the moment, and I am trying to gear for this to be a finish at the farm the first weekend in November. That's going to be tight, but that's what I'm gearing for right now. But ultimately, I want to finish by the end of this year, and that will definitely happen. Is I Love New England. The text is done. I am on the final motif on the bottom, and then it's all border, baby. And here we go. This is on 32 count antique white. Nothing fancy. It's all DMC is charted. This pattern is by the Sampler Needlework, which was a store in Plymouth, Massachusetts that's defunct. And therefore the pattern is well out of print. I doubt they printed that many copies of it, but I am very happy to have this one going. It's going to be gorgeous on my wall. I cannot wait. That basket you see down on the bottom is the bottom motif. So all I got left to do under that is just connect the border up and run these border hearts and flowers and leaves all the way around. So it is in really, really, really good shape. And I cannot wait to have this one done. This was my goal to enter into the fair this past year. Obviously didn't get done in time. So right now, this is my first submission to the fair for next year. I can have up to 3. But that's my goal. So, stitching updates. Huzzah! All right. So now we will go to what I put in the stitching bag. So most of the retreats I go to are for 2 to 3 days. I generally don't go to ones that are for classes. I usually go to retreats where a lot of it is a hang out and stitch what you want, as long as you want. I prefer that kind of retreat. I like to just go hang out and relax and unwind and chat with folks. And if there's a shop there, awesome, I'll go shop. But I'm really there just to go and be with other stitchers. That's my whole thing about going to retreats. So my rule of thumb is, as far as stitching projects, is I generally take one piece for each day I'm going to be there, plus one. And that plus one is usually a piece that I can work on when my eyes are tired. So that's when I'll get stuff that's like on Ada, or that stuff that I'll work on that I don't have to count that much, that I can just do fill in. It's got to be stuff that's on light colored fabric that's easy to see. The other pieces, I try to kind of do the rule of thumb of one piece that I need to get progress on, one that I would like to get progress on, and one that's a, hey, cool, whatever I get done on it is awesome. And if I don't get anything on it, that's okay too. So usually that winds up being 3 projects plus 1, because they're usually 3-day retreats. And this was no different. So, project bag. I've had a wide variety of project bags over the years, but thanks to Black Needle Society, I have these awesome ones. This was from Frogwarts last year or the year before. Can't remember which. And I have a couple others from them too. They hold a ton of stuff. They're awesome. And I'm really not even unpacking this since I'm going away again in 2 weeks. So you need a bag. And this is in addition to, if you're staying at the hotel, of your basic, clothing, toiletries, whatever that you need for going away. Excuse me. Here comes the cough. That's your own thing. So I recommend, the one thing I recommend is painkillers, because you're going to be hunched over a table. But other than that, your suitcase of whatever you pack for clothing is up to you. Wear something comfortable. All right. So stitching bag. Projects. I keep everything in bags. Here is the bag that's very messy for temperature tree at the moment, because it actually was just out in the living room right now. This is my project bag for I Love New England. And my project bag for Hugs and Kisses, which I guess I could show you really quickly because I've gotten some work done on that too. Hey, look, I got squares. Yes, it's coming along. Anyway, so I put a good deal of time on that actually this weekend, and I forgot about it. So project bags, keep everything together. Awesome, great. Put those in your bag. The one piece I didn't get to was Bird and Berry Box by Barbara Jackson. Brought it along, didn't touch it. We'll bring it to the farm. Hopefully I get some work on it then. But like I said, I Love New England really is my goal project. And while I might have these in there, I don't expect to get much done on them. Okay. After that, I generally bring a couple of different types of hoops. I personally don't really like working with frames, especially at retreats. I find them awkward and not easy to kind of condense my space, so I try to avoid them. But you do you. I have brought I have brought that frame over there, my Lowry, to the farm. It was a pain in the ass. I don't recommend it. If you've got one for a table, awesome. Otherwise, stitch in something that's just nice and cozy that you can curl up in. So I have my big Nurge hoop, which is the one I'm using for I Love New England, and then my really thick Nurge hoop, which I use for pretty much everything else. they're just nice, and you can just kind of curl up with them and stitch wherever. So a couple hoops. I might have smaller, I don't think I brought a smaller one this time, but you know, depends on what you're working on. Okay, next up is my supply bag. I got this at the Quilted Crow, which is a quilt shop up in Bolton, Mass. And this keeps all of the little knickknacks I need for the weekend to go for my stitching. So I usually have a couple highlighters. I have a pair of scissors or two, usually two. I really like to bring this pair with me because it has the fob on it that has a one of the tip holders for knitting needles to protect the tip of my scissors. And it's a really easy one to find. So I like bringing that with me. I usually bring a square for measuring small amounts, and if I start anything by chance while I'm at a retreat, it's just handy to have, you know, one of those 3-inch corner squares. I also always bring extra needles and more extra needles because you always need more needles. I like to have some on me, but if I go down to the shop that is available, chances are I'm going to buy more needles because you can never have too many needles. I prefer to use Bowens. That is my brand of choice. I also am enjoying the Pony Blacks that I got introduced to through Black Needle, through one of the boxes, but I do find them really stiff. So they're good for some projects, but if I have my preference, I like to break in my needles and have a little bit of a curve for my thumb in them. I'm one of those stitchers. So always keep as many needles as I can around. Okay, then I also keep in my bag, I have a needle to pick out stitches. That's Toby, who's down on the floor investigating things. So this is the Frogger that actually has a frog on it. So in case I forgot what it is, it has a frog. I have a handy dandy little measuring tape also that I got in one of those Black Needle boxes, but it's a 6-inch length and it's super light and super easy to carry with me for other measuring. I have some beeswax if I have thread that is absolutely not behaving. I don't use anything generally on my floss, like anything. I am not one of those Stitch Magic girls or whatever. Never have. But it doesn't hurt to have it in there just in case, and it's small, so it fits in the bag, just in case. But generally, I don't have to use it. Let's see. I do have some counting needles, or some counting pins, I mean, if I'm counting out a rough spot. I have my boo-boo stick to, if I do have to frog, which I always have to frog. Oop, and hi, Toby. You coming around? Come on. Come through the picture. Thank you. Go into your box. Go on. Come on. Yes, there you go. Go in your box. He has his box on my desk. He hangs out with me all day while I work here. And he's, you know, my co-manager at work while I'm working remotely. Anyway, so I have the boo-boo stick to brush out frogged threads if they're leaving fuzz behind, as you know, they do. Let's see. I keep my tightener for my Lowry frame in this bag just so I know where it is. But, you know, it really isn't for anything else except for my Lowry frame to tighten bolts and that kind of stuff, but it's in here. I usually have a needle minder or two in here, but I don't at the moment. And I keep a few Band-Aids for obvious reasons. And I have some of the Utterly Smooth hand cream that, because after you've been stitching for a little while, sometimes your hands just need a little bit of hand cream. And that is my stash bag. I pretty much just keep this thing together like all the time. So I use it here at the house. I use it at retreats. It keeps together and it's easy to carry around. So that's my gadget bag. All right, inside the actual bag here itself, I also have a lint roller because I have cats, as you've already seen, and I have long hair. And long hair and cats equal tons of fuzz all over your stitching all the time. So I am constantly rolling my stitching to try to get as much of the cat hair off as I possibly can. I will never get it all off. I accept that, but I'll do my darndest to try to get the most of it off. So lint roller is always in the bag. Okay, after that, I have and this is kind of a newer thing. I bought this after going to the farm last year and fell in love with it, and it's now kind of a permanent part of my retreat bag, which is one of these retreat mats. Isn't this cute? So as you can see, I have notebooks in there, a notebook in the one pocket on it, and then this is full of like floss cards and stuff that I got from folks at Stitch New England, and it's just still in there to keep it all together. But this weekend I'll be going through all of those and putting them away with the rest of my floss cards and whatnot. Usually my scissors and like my frogging tools stay right there, so they're easily accessible. This is for stray strings of floss if I'm switching colors, and while it's not on there right now because I put it into a pocket in my bag, there's a little snap right here, and that is where my ort container for my scraps that matches it snaps on, and then it holds all the orts nice and tidy. So, and matches. And this one in particular came from Stitch in Piece on Etsy. She has some really cute designs. Really recommend it if you're going to retreat. It's just the size of a placemat, kind of just gives you stitching space. Okay, and finally in my bag, well, I have you always want to bring a surge protector or some sort of an extension cord. Bring your stitching light with you. And finally, I have floss cards. So I can do IDs and exchange them with people at retreats that I see to keep in contact, and really just use them as calling cards. And that is what I put in my stitching bag. It's not that heavy. It works out well. And I'm already ready to go to the farm in a couple of weeks because, you know, I just got out of a retreat. So that's it for tonight. Oh, and my husband just got home from work. Hi, Eric. And he's running away. Because, yes, it is 11:24 at night, and my husband is now coming home from work. So, with that, I think I'm going to wrap up for this episode. Thank you for hanging out and listening to me. And I hope to see you at a retreat. And if not, hope to see you maybe somewhere on Zoom. Say hi in the comments, and let's connect. Until next time, take care, happy stitching, and I'll see you later. Bye.